Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to make pressed flower sun catchers. Now, these are just a fun addition to your window. You hang them up and the sun shines through them and you can see the flowers. And I tried to get a picture of it, but the camera just doesn't do it justice with the bright background. I wanted to make this dark, but when you put it up, your eyes pick it up really good and they're just fun. You can hang multiple ones in your window. There's different ways to hang it. This is a fun craft to do with kids. I just like to do it because it's a fun addition to hang around my house. And you can make them in any design you want. I like the mandala designs. They're just fun. I do recommend that when choosing your flowers for this, that you do flat flowers. If something has a really thick center, then it's going to be hard to get the seal around it when laminating. So with that, to get started, you'll need your pressed flowers of choice, whatever you're going to choose. The thinner, the better, but you can experiment just to see what it looks like. You will need pattern. Now there will be patterns available just below this video. You should see a button that says download or attachments. And if you click that and then click the little link that pops up below it, you should be able to download the pattern. I'll include different sizes. The one I'm using is a 6-inch from my embroidery hoop, but I'll include a bunch of different sizes so you can choose the one that best fits your embroidery hoop. So you'll need the pattern printed out. You will need 2 laminating sheets. Now we're doing this so we don't need a laminating machine. So these are self-laminating sheets, which is why you need 2 of them. Each one just has a clear side, but then it has a film on it. If you peel, it's like a sticker almost. One sticky side, one not sticky side. So we need 2 of these so that we put the 2 sticky sides together. But no machine required. So that makes it easy. You will also, you want some kind of scraper. Something that isn't going to scratch or gouge the laminating sheet. I've got this plastic scraper. You could use a popsicle stick or a craft stick, something that we're going to use just to rub and help get the air bubbles out. Tweezers, that's a staple, just in case you want them for handling the flowers. In some cases, it makes it a lot easier. Scissors for snipping and trimming the flowers if you want. And then I use my bigger scissors for trimming the laminating sheet because we don't need the whole thing. In this size, you don't need the whole thing. And if this is optional, you can get a dry erase marker for transferring the pattern onto your laminating sheet. I'm going to use this, but only for part of it because they do not wipe off completely. I have tried rubbing alcohol, which does help a lot, but it does leave a slight film. So a cloth, a dry erase marker, rubbing alcohol, but I'll show you where we're going to use it and where we won't. So that's everything we need. Oh, and your embroidery hoop. Almost forgot. You need an embroidery hoop. So put that aside. And I'm going to take my laminating sheet. And because I like to use them for other projects, I will save even the smallest part because they make bookmarks, or you can just do something else with the rest of it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my dry erase marker and I'm going to trace, but I'm only tracing the outside. The outside line is the cut line. that will actually be down in here. And so it doesn't matter so much if it doesn't wipe completely off, because you're not going to see it. It's going to be in behind your embroidery hoop. The inside line is just a guide. So we're not going to mark that one, because that one will actually show. That is the inside of your hoop. And that is just a guide on where to put the flowers so that you don't have any that go out too far. And so that is, if I put it like center it up here. So the inside circle, we want to keep our flowers inside of that. And it would show if we still had a residue from the thing. So we're only going to mark the outside just so we can cut it. And this, it doesn't matter which side you're doing it on. However, if you marked it on you mark it on the film side, then when you peel it, it's going to come off clean. But it's going to be hidden either way. So if you don't get the right side, it's not going to matter. We do want to hold this down because we don't want it moving on us. And I'm just going to trace this. It doesn't have to be exact, because it is going to be hidden. One. And like I said, we need two. So we're going to trace the other one. Probably a finer point marker would be easier. But I only have these wide ones. Now we're going to cut it out. And I'm actually not even going to bother at the moment. That's just a guide. I'm just going to cut out a square just to cut off the extra. And I'll show you why. I recommend just doing it this way first, because those sharp corners are going to make it easier to peel than trying to get the edge of a circle. So there's one piece. We'll cut the other one the same way. Do a rough cut. Again, making it a square. We'll be trimming it later. There we go. I only need one of these to start, so set one aside. So for at least one of your pieces, you are going to want to make sure that you have marker on the actual laminating sheet side. So at first, for just cutting it didn't matter. And it's a little bit easier to trace it. You can have it on both sides now, and just for one of your pieces, Doesn't matter for the other one. And then peel it. See, because we're going to remove this. So we still need one piece to have the pattern on it. And these corners as well, which is why we're not trimming exactly. This gives us a place where we can touch and not leave our fingerprints on it. So we peel the film off and lay it sticky side up. I am going to kind of put it back on my pattern. Sometimes it's easier. I have my pattern taped down, so my pattern isn't going to move. And then, so that this pattern doesn't move, why we left the sticky sheets or the corners on our sticky sheet, I'm just going to take a little piece of tape. This is optional. Just a little piece in to the corners that just holds that. Completely optional. I have done it where I set it on there and it doesn't matter. Now we can start arranging our flowers. Like I said, I like the mandala patterns. And so I like to start with a large flower in the middle. And this is just preference. You can arrange them however you'd like. Just somewhere in the middle. You want to lay it down carefully. And I'm just going to gently push it down. Flatten it out. You want to stick it down. You do want to be gentle with the petals because you don't want to bruise them or damage them. Just so the flower is stuck down. That's where I find the tweezers work well. Remember this inside line, we want to keep our flowers inside of that. Anything that goes out over the edge is going to go down and be hidden by the embroidery ring. I'm just working down from the largest flower that I've chosen to the smallest. Just making a little pattern with mine. You can arrange them in a design. You can do them in circles. You can do them in any pattern. Just get creative with it. It's a little too close to that. We're going to try a different color. Let's try. You can get as simple or as intricate as you would like. Really no set rule. Just you do your own style and your own creativity. Add some greenery. Sorry, my chair keeps creaking. Sprig. Scissors come in handy. Just going to cut the leaves off this so I can use them separately. Until you push them down, at least the leaves are a little bit thicker. You want to be careful once you've stuck down your flower about moving them. These leaves are a little thicker and stronger, but you do want to be careful once you get them to position them carefully, and may not be able to move them without them breaking on you. When I start out, I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do. Then as I get going, it's more of just, how the flowers speak to me, how they want to be arranged. The design often just evolves. Now it looks like I'm going to need some more leaves. Got some more of another sprig. Hope it doesn't stick down. Come on. No. So I got to be careful when I'm cutting those. That one wants to go right there, I guess. Turn it around. Come on, put that one right there. Do you guys have a favorite flower you like to press or you like to use in your art, your crafts? I've said this often, but I love violas. So I'm trying not to use them in every craft I make. Have a little bit of variety on here. But really when I do my other crafts, I most always have a viola in there. Just love them. All different colors. It's not always the same kind, but got a bunch of different ones. Go in my flower bed. And they're just so easy to press and just so beautiful. It's coming together. I can hold on to my leaf. These ones are pretty small. That one back. Didn't need that one. Let's leave it for another day. Okay. Now I'm just gonna gently press on them. Make sure these are stuck down. A little stiffer, so they might not quite stick as well to just one sheet. As long as they stay in place, get the other one on top, we'll be fine. Now I'm using the flat side by tweezers. I don't want to just poke. That could make damage spots on them. I like that a lot. But once you're happy with your design, we're going to take our other sheet. We're going to peel that one off. And it doesn't matter if the marker comes off on this one. We have our pattern already. And I'm going to start towards me, the edge closest to me. I mean, you want to be really careful. We're only going to stick a little bit as we go. So get it lined up, keep it curled, and then press along the bottom. Now this is where your scraper can come in handy. And again, this is a really thin popsicle stick. The thicker ones would work better, but you can use it like that too. Just that might take a little longer because it's just a small spot. This is a little bit wider spot. Might come back to the popsicle stick when I'm done. Once you get it started, you can hold one corner. I'm holding the top corner. And that's also another reason why it's nice to tape this down. It just makes it easier to handle, although it can be done without doing that. And I am just slowly rubbing, and as I the two pieces together. And as I'm going along, I'm going to go in between these. So I'm just using the pointy end to do that, which is also where the stick would come in handy, since my scraper has a kind of a pointy end. And what we want to do is we want to pat this down because we want the air bubbles out. So you might get a little bit of air bubble around or between your flowers. And so we're just going to press it down. And press over your flower too, because we do want to squish the air out, but you want to just be gentle with over the top of your flowers. We slowly work our way around. And you get in all the little spaces. Basically all the white space. You don't want to rush it, so you don't want any huge bubbles. It's really hard once you get the two sides stuck together to get the bubbles out. If you do end up with some major bubbles, you can take a pin on the back side and just poke it through just one layer just to let the air out and then push it down. But it's a lot easier to do this as you go and try to avoid. Prevention is a lot easier than trying to fix it. But sometimes things happen and it's just unavoidable. So it is not the end of the world, but it is a lot easier if you don't have to work your way out, fix it. The nice thing about these wider scrapers too is not just putting a lot of pressure on one part of the flower, it's kind of spreading it out, but I can still run it over the flower and then just put pressure when I'm off the flower, like pointed pressure, and then use the wide section when I'm actually on top of the flower. I'm just kind of going back and forth to wide and then putting a little bit of pressure on there. One wants to static here. there. All right, looks good. So I'm just gonna push the rest of it down. There we go. I don't really have to worry about the corners. We're gonna trim those off. Now I can unstick it from my pattern. And you can see there's a little bit of gapping there. That is normal. And it just kind of is an outline of the flowers. You can squish it down a little more if you can. But it's really okay if it's not. It really doesn't look bad or anything. And just outlines each flower just has a little outline. So now that we're done with that, you're happy it's good and stuck. Take our scissors. We're going to trim along the pattern that we've traced. Discard that. At this point, if you want to clean these up, you can use your cloth and your alcohol. You want to be very careful you don't smear it in, but just wipe the edges. But really, that's optional. I just included that in case somebody wanted to do that. But it's going to be hidden in the embroidery hoop. So what we want to do before we can put it in, this is really stiff. If you're using the same stuff I'm using, which the material list will be in the description below, and where to get it. If you're using what I'm using, this is really stiff and it's going to be really hard to get it in the embroidery hoop just the way it is. And so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take a little piece of tape. You can use double-sided tape, but I'll just have a regular piece of tape. Fold it over on itself so it's sticky on all sides. And on the back, I'm going to stick it there. And then I'm going to align it best I can. And I'm just sticking it down. Now I can pull it off if I pull too hard. So that is just kind of to help me, almost like a third hand. So I'm going to take my little scissors and we're going to put lines. We're not going past the inner circle. So we're just going to snip. There's really doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be the whole way to the circle. But we're just going to snip the whole way around, because this will help it to bend easier to go into the hoop. This is where I'm going to unstick the pattern from my table so I can spin the whole thing. spin it as I go. And I'm doing it about every ½ inch or so. It's not really, to be exact, they don't have to be the same size. You just don't want to make them you don't want to make them too big. The bigger they are, the harder it will be. The smaller they are, the easier it'll bend. So I'm doing, I don't know, every ½ inch or so. Just kind of eyeballing it. Not too worried if they're uniform or anything like that. I'll go the whole way around. Small pointy scissors work good for this. You can use bigger ones. That's all you've got. Peel that off of there. Take my piece of tape off. And I'll leave my pattern there just so you can see it better than my countertop. Now we're going to take our hoop, and there's 2 different styles. This one, I only had one of these, but this kind I like better. The inside just pushes into the outside. I found this to be easier to get it inside. And then there's this kind that you turn the screw and it gets bigger, and then the smaller circle comes out, put it in, then you turn the screw the other way to tighten it down. So that's what we're going to use. Take whichever kind you have, take your inside hoop, put your pattern on it, or your sun catcher on it, and positioning it so that it's in the center. Whoops, that's the back side. Let's go to the front side. So just lining it up, trying to center it as best I can. Now this is where, like I said, I like this style better. There's no adjusting. This might take a little bit of adjusting. If it doesn't quite go on, you can loosen it up. If it's too big, you might have to tighten it down. So you need to be careful you don't move your sun catcher part, the laminated part, too much. Line it up, and then this is the tricky part. And you want to squish it down. Now, once you get it started, it's okay, but getting it going. Mine is too hard. I don't think I put my snips in far enough. You can go back and re-snip it. I'm just going to take where I've already cut it and just snip it in a little bit farther. The other style, you don't have to snip it in quite so far. Just a little bit on each one, because as you go around, you know, you're going in basically twice as much as you think, because I'm putting a little bit on here, putting the same amount in here. And so kind of doubling the amount where I'm going in once you go the whole way around. So you just want to go a little bit on each one, a little bit at a time. It's better than cutting in too far. So you can't fix it once you cut it. So it's fun. There we go. We'll give that a try. Up. There we go. That worked better. Again, to tighten it up. Just going to take this to the edge of the table so the screw is over the edge. There we go. Now I can show you. Once you get it tight enough where it will stay, you can position any parts that didn't go. Line up your rings. Any parts that are sticking out. Just want your ring on to get it started. And then you can work your way around. I'm just pushing it in farther. Down some more. Just working it to, there we go, to wherever we want. And the one advantage of these kind is that you can loop a string in here and you can hang it up. Hang it in your window. This kind, what I did, I just take a little bit, I take 4 pieces of double-sided tape. I just put a little bit on each end. And I just stick it right to the window. It's like it's floating there because you don't really see the tape. Or you can take a hole punch and punch a hole in it. Or even just make a little hole with your scissors and run a string through it like that. To hang it, if you want it maybe to twirl, because even the backside is interesting. You see the backs of the flowers. If you hang it so it'll twirl, you can get those suction cup hooks that will just stick to your window, and then you can hang it, especially this kind, hang it the hook here. But you can also put the hook here. The only downside is that you actually see the hook in. You see the hook through it. So if you have a little bit sticking out, I have this one. This one is narrower than this one. So my pattern was a little bit bigger for here. Once you're happy with where it is, tighten it down. And then you can trim off the rest. Now the embroidery hoop isn't necessary. You can just leave them as flat laminated circles. Trim off the part that shows the pattern, so they're just a clear circle, and punch a hole in it and hang it in your window, and there's no frame. I like these because it just kind of creates a frame for the picture, but these are not necessary. It is just one option that you can do. So have fun with it. Show your designs. We'd love to see what you're making. Love it if you'd share in the Facebook group, the community, what you've made. Take a picture of it hanging in your window, the designs you've made, the layouts you've done, whether you use the hoops or not. Just get creative, experiment. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. This is just a guide to get you started with your creativity. So have fun with it, and make sure you share what you've made. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you had fun making along with us.